The Minecraft Combat Handbook is one of the oldest handbooks of the series that was published by Mojang in 2014. Wow, I feel very old saying that. However, old but gold they say, and I'm not saying this about me, I'm saying this about the Combat Handbook. The handbook contains some PvP tips to improve your PvP skills, more appropriately titled Battle Strategies. Nice Mojang, make it sound dramatic. First, we need to pull it back, literally, to our pre-battle checklist. Our checklist contains a full set of enchanted armor, at least iron, 2 enchanted swords, an enchanted bow with at least 20 arrows, that's oddly specific I must say, TNT, lava bucket, water bucket, flint and steel, a lot of potions, mushroom soup, what? That was out of nowhere, where did mushroom soup come from? I guess we'll find out in the next place, they said. Moving on to something more familiar, steak and golden apples. Mojang even added some advice about inventory management, having categorical sections in your toolbar from food, weapons to potions. It helps getting access to all the items quicker. So far pretty straightforward tips, yet effective. Now Mojang also suggests that you leave your valuables at home when in PvP mode. Where at home, you ask? In your garden? In your bedroom? No, just stash it under the floor, don't overthink it, it's pretty simple. Now, I strongly believe that the process of planning your fight is more important than the actual fight. You don't need to listen to me, listen to Mojang, as they state planning and using your brains, they said, will give you an upper hand over your fierce opponents. Tip number 1. Craft a map as soon as you can to keep track of your location as well as other players. Head for higher ground so you can see further and pounce on the players below you. So, to analyze this, I'm not sure about the map tip, as the maps don't show other play locations, but the tip about high ground is essential to giving you a big advantage. Since you are above an opponent, it gives you the dictation to decide when and how you want to attack. Tip number 2. Find a suitable spot for your base and get building. Try to position it away from other players. Sky bases and underground bases are the most difficult for your opponents to locate. Build your base from the strongest substance you can lay your hands on. Obsidian is the best. A pretty standard tip here, but it can be ignored. Sometimes defense is the best attack. So if you can build a strong base in the sky or underground, which is the best option, you can survive in the long run while other players take themselves out. You'll be there grinding materials and will be ready when the fight comes. This tip is in the mind of pro bedwar players especially, and when you build a strong base, you can let the enemies come to you and you can prepare for traps and other essential things. Tip number 3. Approach your opponents from behind to give you the element of surprise, then use the strafing technique to circle them, making it more difficult for them to target you. This tip ties into the first tip slightly, again trying to give you the upper hand when you dictate when and how you attack, surprising the enemy. When you surprise the enemy, you already got a few hits in, and the enemy just realized you're there. Mojang mentioned strafing, a common PvP technique where you travel diagonally to the opponent as you attack them. Your random movement will put them off and keep them guessing, diverting their intentions from the main goal, taking you out. I know all of this sounds brilliant, and it is. Tip number 4 and 5. Keep your hand empty until face to face with an opponent. Then select your weapon. This will lure them into a full sense of security. Try to get the first hidden so your opponent's health points are immediately depleted. If you can force your opponent into the water, your movement will be slowed, giving you an advantage. Now, this one is controversial. I'm not so sure about hiding the sword. First of all, if you're running towards your opponent, they know it's for a fight. I mean, why else would you be running towards them? Because you want a signature? No. So I think the sword trick really has no purpose, but the tip of getting your opponents or your enemies in the water is a significant tip that will give you an advantage 1000%, so use it to your advantage. Tip number 6. Sprinting at your enemy and hitting them, also known as sprint hitting, will enable you to knock them back further. Try block hitting and blocking at the same time. This allows you to deal damage to your opponent while taking less in return. Also, hit your opponent while jumping to deal more damage. This is called a critical hit. That was a lot of information. However, we can summarize the content into 3 smaller techniques. If you keep spamming your W button, aka your sprint button, you can trigger a constant knockback effect. Block hitting is basic, just hitting and blocking using your 2 mouse button when holding your sword, so you block and hit your opponents at the same time. Thing to note is, this only works in Minecraft version 1.8.9 and under, but you should be in 1.8.9 when PvPing anyways. Last but certainly not least, jumping and attacking while in midair gives you the best opportunity to get a critical hit. So you just try to do that to do the most damage possible using these 3 techniques. I am curious about this one. Let's see what Mojang has to say with mushroom soup. It says, try mushroom souping. Save a sword in the first slot of your hotbar and mushroom stew/soup in the other 8. When your health has decreased to half mid-battle, block hit while simultaneously eating your stew. This allows you to regenerate health. And there you have it. I don't know about that one. I don't get it when it says have your sword in the first slot and mushroom stew and soup in the other 8. Because if you're gonna be changing to your food slot, you're gonna lose your sword. So I'm guessing it's trying to say use your left and right hand. Left for food and right for the sword. I think it's trying to say that. I'm not too sure about that one, but any food does, in my opinion. You don't really need mushroom stew. It's kind of annoying anyway, so I just suggest you get golden carrots or steak. And there we have it. All of this construct the perfect PvP situation that is intended by Mojang. Will they guarantee you a win over your opponent? No. Will knowing this hinder your PvP fights? No. Will it help you in PvP just a tiny bit better? Maybe. It just might. With all that said, I will see you guys in the next video.